Again, thank you everyone for joining us, Career Innovations tonight with their weekly Q&A session. This session will be recorded and we do upload it to our YouTube channel. It is Career Innovations, all one word. If you type that in, you're able to bring up not only our past videos, but videos that are sessions that we held regarding different topics that were requested. It usually takes anywhere from about 24 to 48 hours, depending on our caseload, to get these videos uploaded. But you definitely can check those out on our YouTube, and that's just a update on anyone that in the future may miss a session, or if you want to look at some of the sessions or questions that were asked in the past, because I do get questions that are repeatedly asked that I go ahead and make a workshop on, and I'll just upload it. So if I have a question that was asked, I may go ahead and direct you to that particular workshop. This is your first time using GoToWebinar. You can ask questions one of two ways depending on how you logged in. If you entered your audio pin, you can raise your hand, I can unmute your mic, and you can verbally ask your question. If you don't want to verbally ask your question, you're shy, just really don't care to speak tonight, that's fine. Definitely type your question and I will answer it regardless. So you have two ways of doing that. The questions that are on these slides are questions that were submitted prior to the workshop. I like them to be submitted prior to the workshop. That gives me time to do research and give you a more thought out answer versus a answer that I may just pull out the air or think of on the top of my head, and you may not get the quality nor all the information that I intend to give you. So let's first start. If this is your first time, I give 30-second overview of who we are. We are Career Innovations. Let me go back to the first slide. This is putting the odds in your favor. So we're going to talk about getting some odds in your favor on your career search, whether you are gainfully employed or you're looking to make a career move or a career change, or you're just looking to see what the market is out there. I'm going to talk about that. Who we are, I'm Bridget Bagg, and I'm the founder of Career Innovations. We are an executive search firm. We were launched back in '07. We do a lot of headhunting and recruiting for various clients that request top talent. We find our ways to be unconventional and innovative to find some top talent that they may normally can't find under traditional recruiting efforts. One of my passions is organizational change. I've spoke about this before. I truly believe that an organizational culture starts with the company's core values. It's really the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent. In addition to what we offer tonight, as you're online for a job seeker training session, we do offer resume writing, career coaching, market research. That's for employers or candidates. If you're looking for decision makers in your particular industry, we can do research for you, get you their contact information. We also do compensation benchmarking and referral and retention workshops for employers. I start each session off with a quote. Today's quote is, "There's a difference between a gamble and a calculated risk. Something magical happens when preparation meets opportunity." I kind of tongue twist that, but you understand. So we're going to talk about that. When preparation meets opportunity, we're going to actually talk about that tonight on how you can prepare yourself. This can be more of a laser focused search versus a gamble, so you want to be able that you're actually calculating the risk and making sure you're getting those odds in your favor. Let's start with the first question tonight. The first question that was asked was about why do HR managers or recruiters overlook candidates that have been out of work a long time, which means there have been in some type of long-term unemployment, and we're seeing more of that since we're slowly recovering. The economy is getting better. We still do have candidates out there that are unemployed and have been unemployed for some time now. And I did a little bit of research on this, and this title was called Skill Shelf Life. And there's really not a true term. A lot of these terms I kind of label myself so I can get a better understanding. So if you Google this, you might not find anything, but I kind of made up this term, skill shelf life, because that's pretty much what it is. Whether or not we want to accept it or not, it exists. And the thing is about this, and I put 4 reasons. And of course, these are all subjective to what HR manager or recruiter that you speak to. This is not set in stone. And I'm pretty sure there are other reasons or other factors that people are throwing here in addition to this. But the first one is psychological. If you have a candidate, and it really doesn't matter, and I'm going to talk about some research that was done on the next slide that you might be interested in hearing. It's about, I want what I can't have. And whether or not you want to admit it or not, you have a subconscious mindset that you have predetermined what's good and what's bad, and you don't even know it. And that's the thing. Just think about, take the job out take the job out the factor. Well, take this particular situation. Don't look at the job as a factor. Think of anything. And some people think that new is better. And we as people and as humans, we kind of rank things based on quality. And sometimes we, again, unconsciously look at things, and if we see, and this can go for if someone gives you something for free, somebody may think, what's wrong with it? Why are you giving it to me? And they may not value it, and that's the same thing if you see something that, has a shelf life, it's been on the shelf. And I've kind of unconsciously done this as well. When I go to the grocery store, and I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know if anybody else does this, but while I'm grocery shopping, and if I come to an item and it's one item left, everything else is fully stocked and it's just one item left, I don't get it. And I don't know why I do that, but I don't get it, and or if I do get it, it's times when I have received things and I know this is also, they put the newest in the back, I'll go to the back and grab it. So it's kind of like a psychological thing that employers think that if someone's out of work for a very, very long time, no fault of your own, you could have legitimately been laid off. We're not saying that you were fired, or some circumstance that was within your control. This can be a legitimate reason why you're out of work. You have to also understand, there's also a preconceived notion that if you're out of work for a very, very long time, hey, I'm not going to candy coat it. The employers look at it as, what's wrong with you? Why can't you get a job? Why is no one hiring you? And that's the way they look at it, and you also have to look at some of the dated skills that may be involved. If someone's been out of work and for longer than 6 months, and I'm going to use 6 months as a threshold because there's been actual research done, and I'm going to show you some graphs on the next 2 slides that shows that after 6 months, your opportunities decline. So they look at skills being dated. Everyone wants an innovator. Everyone wants someone that knows what's going on in the now, has implemented something fresh and new. They want that person that has that current experience. And if you've been out of work for 6, 8, 12, in some cases 24 months, which is 2 years, an employer may also look at this as, this person does not have current experience. And especially if you're in a particular industry, which is constantly changing. One of the things that are constantly changing, healthcare, IT, these industries change not only by year, sometimes they change by quarter. Laws get passed, technologies get implemented, and if someone's not currently in that industry, they're missing out. They're losing a crucial skill set that's going to be required for that next opportunity. And employers do look at that. And what they also look at is if someone has dated skills, now this person becomes a high risk. And I also have job hoppers and or someone that's been involuntarily terminated, which means they were fired. But that also goes in the cost of training. So if I'm going to hire someone that's been out of work for 2+ years, I also have to be ready to get this person up to speed. And everyone knows nowadays a lot of these employers want candidates to, hit the ground running, unless they're recruiting for a particular role that they are prepared financially to train for. So any of these roles that may require a seasoned candidate, you may be looking at something far as, employers may see that as a risk. I also put in this category as a higher risk if anyone's on the line that had multiple jobs that were non-contract, which means that you weren't in a job that voluntarily, had a termination date, like you knew you were taking this position and it only was going to last 6 months or only was a 12-month contract. We're talking about candidates that voluntarily terminate their position every 6 months or every 8 months or even every year. Every year they have a new job. That to an employer shows that this person, one, is not stable. They're not going to stay for long, and we're going to waste our money on hiring them and getting this person onboarded. So that's another reason. Of course, if someone is terminated, definitely can also increase your decrease your opportunities, especially if the termination was something that was something that you caused. So it could have been, bad performance, you weren't doing your job. Could have been issues as far as time commitments, time management, whatever the case may be. You weren't performing to their expectations. They look at that as a higher risk. Well, if they let you go, why should we hire you? Again, I'm just giving reasons. I don't want anyone to think that I'm co-signing on any of these reasons, but this is just the facts that are out there. And also, you have competition. So if you've been out of work for a long time, even if you exclude 1, 2, and 3, the first three reasons, you have people out there that are gainfully employed. So you're competing against the employed. So again, this goes back to bringing something to the table. And if you have to put someone, side by side, someone that's gainfully employed, again, goes back to skill sets. They're currently working in this type of position or type of work that we're hiring for. They're going to have an advantage over someone that hasn't worked for 2 years or hasn't worked for a year and a half. And I ask people to be honest with themselves. If you put yourself in that employer's shoes, and you had to pick, and you have someone side by side, the same credentials, even though some people say, I'll give that person a shot. And again, there are employers that do that, but I hate to say majority of the employers lean towards the one that is employed. And again, this can be something that they just unconsciously do, but it is out there, and you do have competition that you're going to be competing with that again is gainfully employed, and that's something that you have to be mindful of. I'm going ahead and go to a quick graph that I pulled off. It was actually on the Atlantic.com. If anyone ever wants to check it out, you can just type in unemployment duration. And it was research that was actually completed by a PhD candidate in economics at Northeastern University, and also Professor William Dickens of economics at Northeastern University. Excuse me if I said Western. It's Northeastern University. So this particular graph, they wanted to really test this theory, because there's a lot of talk and everyone pretty much is saying this, that, and the other, but they really wanted to test to see, okay, let's do some type of field experiment to find out, is this really happening, or is this just a figment of our imagination? So what they actually did, in this particular paper that he put together, he sent out 4,800 fictional resumes to 600 job openings, with 36 of them were from fake unemployed people. So he actually sweetened the pot and made, out of the 4,800, he made more than half. He made 36 of them to be resembled as being unemployed. So out of the 36, he pretty much looked at how he wanted to make these resumes stand out, using the length of time they've been out of work or switched jobs to be that variable. So out of these 3,600, he pretty much kept everything consistent, which means, the same experience, similar or not exact same companies, same education. The only thing that was different was either the length of time they were at jobs, or the amount of time they were unemployed or quote unquote in between jobs. They also made the resumes to be mocked up as all male, and they were randomly selected with different types of names, but they all had similar education and experience backgrounds. The question was which would get callbacks. That's pretty much all it was. They were throwing them out there to these openings, and they were going to see which one got the most callbacks. And as you can see in this chart, the results pretty much were not unsurprising. A lot of people expect this because as unemployed or even people that are making that transition, you don't need research to figure this out. They actually see in the chart that they show that people with relevant experience, which were in the red, who had been out of work for 6 months or longer, got callbacks less than people without relevant experience, but were out of work for a shorter period of time or not out of work at all. So you would think that even if I'm out of work, my experience would compensate for me not being in work, but they were actually seeing that people that didn't have any experience got callbacks before the people that did have experience, but they were out of work. And they also said there's only a 2.12 percentage difference in callback rates for long-term unemployed. This is with or without industry experience, and they compared it to the 7.13 and the 8.95 difference of the short-term or not unemployed population. So you can see the penalty for long-term unemployment is unlike any other. And there also shows a different chart that's going to show on the next page where another red flag for employers were pretty much nearly at the same extent. They saw applicants who gone through 5 or 6 jobs but had relevant experience were still more likely to get called back than those that had 3 or 4 jobs but didn't. So they said that it was a good chance for those who held 1 or 2 jobs but were experienced. In other words, there's a job switching cliff that the unemployed had that the employed didn't have, and it really didn't and I show you the next one. It really didn't show. This is the next slide. Versus callback rate versus job transitions. How the short-term unemployed versus everyone else that was matching them. As you can see, if they had 1 or 2 jobs, you can even see this in here, 1 or 2 jobs versus someone that had 3 or 4 jobs. And the more jobs you had, the less likely your callback rate decreased. So they did research, and they wanted to be very clear that the study showed that employers did discriminate against long-term unemployed. And all the fake resumes that were sent out were basically identical. But the firms ignored the ones from people who've been out of work for 6 months or longer. That was the key. The people that may have been out of work for 1 or 2 months, they still were getting the same amount of callbacks as the people that were gainfully employed. But it was something about that 6-month mark that drastically decreased their opportunities. And they also showed even if they had better credentials. So it was a lot of people that had better credentials than people that were gainfully employed, but they still called the ones that were gainfully employed versus someone that may have been out of work that had more experience in education. So that's something that we took a look at, or they took a look at. And I've been looking at this as well. And that's why I go back to that slide on some of the determining factors. And a lot of it does have to do with just the psychology of wanting wanting something that you can't have. So that's kind of like, I want this person that's working for my competitor, or I want this person that's been doing this for XY, amount of years. So, and that's just the psyche that goes into recruiting, and that's why the government has put in a lot of requirements and thresholds that employers have to meet, and they have acts involved that they have to determine, hey, if you've been out unemployed, you actually get an advantage. for a particular length of time. So that's something. I hope this was able to answer your question. And again, you can check this out on Atlantic.com, theatlantic.com, and it's also a research that was done by Northeastern University. So you can take a look at a little bit of this data yourself. And I wanted to throw that out there. And those were pretty much the four main reasons. And again, if they're probably more, but I think those are the four main ones that employers either consciously or subconsciously use when making that hiring decision. Next question. I've been unemployed for 4 months since graduating from a top 10 financial MBA program. Why can't I find a job? I have the education. Okay, and I also put in here, education is the cherry on top. And it's funny because I had a conversation with a candidate earlier today, and they were making a decision on making a transition, and they were trying to determine what program to go to, and and I was kind of telling them and coaching them through that. But I put in here, education is the cherry on top, and I use this as a metaphor, as a sundae. And the reason why I do that is, if you take a look at this sundae I have here, and before I even go through the 4 boxes, I just want everyone to just think about having a sundae. You order a sundae and you get all the works, which means that you get the chocolate, the caramel syrup, you get the sprinkles, the nuts, the whipped cream, the banana, and think of it without the cherry, versus a sundae that may just have the 3 scoops of ice cream with the cherry. Even though the sundae without the works has the cherry, what's more appetizing? Or which one would you still select? In fact, if this didn't have cherries on it, it still would be a sundae. So what I mean, education is the cherry on top. The toppings are the things that create your whole professional platform, the experience, the projects that you work on, the companies that you work for, the people that you network with. That all makes up the toppings of this sundae. And your education, yes, it does matter, and it's that cherry on top. So what I mean by that, even though you graduated from this top 10 financial program, against someone that may have X amount of experience, but may have graduated from a mediocre school, or may not even went and got their MBA, to an employer, that person definitely is much more qualified than someone that hasn't even had the experience yet, regardless of what degree you have. And especially when you're talking about a financial sector, you have a lot of liability. So I don't know what type, you didn't say in this particular question what type of jobs that you're applying for. Are you applying for entry level? Are you applying for managerial or director type roles? But let it be known that when you are applying, and again, a financial sector is a risky sector when you're dealing with people that must know what they're doing. You're dealing with someone that may, especially if you're applying to roles that, hey, we need someone in here that that has a track record of doing this, and completing a program, though it shows tenacity and it shows that you can stick through it and you have the knowledge to complete the program, doesn't replace the experience that employers are looking for. So that's why I say education is the cherry on top. So if you have someone that has all the qualifications and they do have that quote unquote top 10 financial program degree, they have that cherry on top, of course, up against someone that doesn't, of course they look more attractive. Like I said, if you put this sundae against a sundae that was exactly identical minus the cherries, of course you're gonna be more attracted to the one that has the cherries on top. But in your case, it doesn't sound like that you have the other components that employers are looking for in addition to that degree. And let me go through some of the 4 things that employers are looking for when they're looking at resumes, regardless of what industry or what type of company you're targeting. Companies are going to look for relevancy. They're going to make sure that, what you're bringing to the table is going to be relevant to their industry and the type of work that they're going to employ you to do. The next thing they're going to look at is the value. What value are you going to bring to the organization? They're going to actually base that on the value you brought to your past employers. So if you just graduated from this program and you have no work history, that kind of marks out the value and the solutions because you don't have any. Especially if the job is looking for some type of track record to benchmark whether or not you're qualified or not. The next thing is, again, that follows up with experience. And experience, again, it goes hand in hand with solutions. And if you listen to any past workshops I've done, I always push solutions, because at the end of the day, a position is open or an opportunity is available because they have a problem that needs to be solved. And you have to be able to market yourself to say, hey, I can solve that problem. I know I can because I've done it before, and this is how. And that's when your resume and your portfolio and all your achievements come to place to showcase not only your experience, but the solutions that you've implemented in the past. Next thing, they are going to look at your requirements. So not only do you meet the bare minimum, but do you have some of the preferred qualifications they're looking for? Again, that's when that cherry comes in. Do you have that preferred degree or that preferred certification? And every job description has it. Pull up any job description. You can see where they have the requirements, and they also have a section where they prefer XYZ. So if you fall in the bottom that you had to prefer, but you're not meeting the main requirements, again, that can also be a reason why you're not finding positions that you're applying for. And again, I don't know what type of positions that you're applying for. So that's something that also can be an issue. Are you applying for positions that are not within your skill set or not within your experience level? That can be a deal breaker, and that can definitely discourage you because you're applying for jobs that you're not qualified for, despite that you have this MBA degree. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not putting that much weight or a whole lot of weight on the education. My advice to you is you got the hard part out the way. You finished that program. I would go out there and start doing some work to get that work experience, whether it's through an internship, whether it's through some type of volunteer work. Start joining some organizations that are within the financial sector or within the industry that you're trying to break into, and start networking and seeing how you can play a part in this particular industry, even if it starts in an entry-level position. So I definitely would do that, and don't get discouraged. But nowadays, in this particular economy, employers are looking for more than just a degree. They're looking for some type of value that you can bring to the table. So that's a recommendation that I do share with you, and I hope I was able to answer your question. Next one is about a career change. Someone asks, I have a BS in computers and an MBA, and I worked in the educational industry mostly as a teacher. I'm trying to enter the IT industry as a side job. Can you tell me a few entry-level jobs that I should look into? Well, it sounds like you have a BS in computers and you have your MBA, and you're currently working in education. From what the question states, you're a teacher, and you're looking to kind of do some IT, I guess, side gigs, I guess, to supplement your income. And you want to know about some entry level positions. Well, IT is very, very vast. So first of all, I would find your niche. I know you said you went to your undergrad in computer science or BS in computers. Computer science is, that's just like saying HR. HR is huge. You have people that play different roles in the HR industry. I play the recruiting and headhunting role, but there are other people that all they do is a particular administrative task. As far as payroll, you have people that all they do is the legal part of HR. You have people that all they do is the talent development and training. So you have so many different components of HR, and that's the same for IT. When you say computer science, what in computer science do you want to do? You have software development, you have computer engineering, you have cybersecurity, you have um, app development. What in computer science do you want to do? And you really need to find your niche. And not only that, are you good at it? Just because you have a degree in it and you got your MBA and you've been working as a teacher, a lot of stuff has changed. So first of all, is your skill set even competitive to even do any type of side work or side gig? That's one thing that you have to look at, because people that are graduating today with these computer science degrees, unless they are working in their field and keeping up with the speed of technology, their skill set won't be relevant a year or two from now, because so much stuff is changing. The languages are changing, codes are changing, so everything's changing within the IT industry. So if you haven't looked at IT or thought about doing this since you graduated with that degree, and since you have the MBA, it tells me you graduated some odd years ago, I would want to know, are your skills relevant? And then you want to incorporate into your current job. How can you incorporate what you do now into IT? As a teacher or as an educator, there are many things that you can implement in IT. You can, make your presentations more technology savvy. You can, find ways to even start teaching IT if you become very advanced in your niche. So find ways that you can do it. There's so many resources now out here that make freelancing a breeze. You have Fiverr, you have freelancer.com, you have Odesk, which is now called Workup or Upwork. I have to look at it, but Odesk and Elance kind of bought, or one of them bought the other, and they're now one called Upwork. There's so many ways now, or so many outlets to make doing this on the side something that you can do. And again, you can freelance. My suggestion to you before you freelance, first, update your skills. And also, if you can, do kind of like a pro bono project to see if you have what it takes to start charging people. I would hate for you to start charging people for something that's not adequate to what's out there in 2015, because your skill set's dated. And that can be a reflection of your work and your brand if you start putting out things or start doing work for people that are not satisfied with your work. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date skills to do this type of work for people that may call on you to do it. So far as a career change or finding something to do on the side, that's kind of like what I have for you. Find your niche, incorporate it in your current job, find a way to do some pro bono work, freelance it, volunteer it, and most of all, make sure your skills are updated. If not, find a way to update it. Again, there's so many sources out there now that you can jump on a workshop or a webinar or whatnot, and since you already have the foundation, for you it may be something that's taking a couple of courses just to sharpen your skill set, and using some downtime to practice and implement what you learn. So I definitely would make sure your skills were updated. And I hope that was able to answer your question. Next question, training for individuals looking for a career change. And this is pretty much a straightforward question. If you're looking for a career change or any type of career development, I definitely urge you to check out any type of local nonprofits. There are nonprofits out there that they're dedicated to career development. Again, most of them are either low cost or absolutely free. Some of them give coaching. If you have any type of workforce development with your state or at a federal level that gives out training, I definitely would look into that. Your next bet is to look at industry related associations or professional organizations that you can join. A lot of them offer some type of training or professional development within the organizations. I would take advantage of that. Next, take a look at your colleges and universities. If you're a graduate from a local college or university, hopefully you are a part of their alumni association, and you're finding a way to take part of any type of career um, programs that your colleges and universities may offer. And they're online sources. You can go online, and they're endless workshops and things that you can take a look at for career training. What Career Innovations is actually putting together, we're in the process of putting together a leadership academy that we can make a lot of the programs that we offer on demand, because we understand that everyone doesn't have time to log on at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I have a lot of people that are from the West Coast that log on, and 7 o'clock is it's 4 o'clock. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock their time. And if they're gainfully employed, they're at work, or and things like that. So I'm starting to put together some of the programs and topics that people have requested, and put that in an on-demand format. So look out for a kind of a career training. It's going to be like a leadership academy. It's not only going to be for those that are out of work, but also people that are looking to leverage their current position, promotions, career change. We're going to have all types of programs that are going to be in that particular platform that people can have access on demand. So that's something that we're going to be rolling out very soon. So we definitely keep everyone updated with that. So I hope that was able to answer your question as far as career training. And definitely check out these 4 sources. I'm pretty sure there are others out there, but I think the best are going to be, if you can, find something related in your industry, because not only are you getting that development for yourself, but you're also rubbing elbows with people that can potentially get you a job, and that's what it's all about. So I really do stress people being a part of industry related associations, being a part of people that are doing what you're trying to do, versus being and I tell people, they join these career, out of work clubs, and nothing's wrong with that, but make sure you're leveraging that and you're having a balance, because like I said, if you're networking with someone that's also looking for a job, or you're in a room with a bunch of folks that they're all unemployed, how are you going to be able to leverage those relationships? So you definitely want to make sure that you're some way incorporating people that are decision makers, that can make things happen, that they can open those doors of opportunities for you. So definitely make sure you're doing that as well. And we are up. Let me see, what time do we have? Got about 15 minutes or so, and we are ready for questions. So this is the last slide. I answered all the questions that were sent to me prior to the workshop. If you sent a question and I didn't answer it, let me know, and I will answer that. And I do have some questions down here. Let me see what I have. Someone asked, I started my company and I didn't succeed. I can't call myself a CEO in order to get a position. How should I describe my experience for doing my own startup? Please advise. Well, first of all, if you started your own organization or startup, and you, let's say, it wasn't successful for whatever reason, I would take on the title of what you did, or what role did you play in that organization. For me, I'm Career Innovations. I'm the founder, owner, and everything in between. But if you go to my profile, I don't use those words on there. And reason I don't is my own personal reason. I think saying I'm a CEO or a founder, it can be borderline cheesy anyway. But I really like to use titles that describe what I do. And I say I'm the director of recruiting because that's what I do. I manage the entire recruiting process, So I would think of a title instead of saying you were the CEO. And I don't know what your startup was, but whatever your startup was, I would definitely describe my title and describe your duties, hopefully solutions, as what was the majority task that you did, or majority duties that you carry. So when you say CEO, or someone tells me they were the founder, that tells me nothing. When someone says that, and I'm glad that you already said you can't call yourself that, because you don't want to come across, you're a CEO. But when I have people that actually, they had a company or whatnot, and on their resume they say CEO or founder or owner, that tells me nothing. So I definitely would use a title. And again, with more detail, I could kind of give you some titles that you can think of. But I would think of what your first of all, what inspired you to create this startup. Doesn't matter if it was successful or not. You had an idea, that you put in fruition. Whether or not it was successful, that doesn't matter at this point. But you had an idea. What things did you do to get it moving? So you want to list a lot of the things that I would consider as attributes to even put together a company. Because even though it didn't, in your words, wasn't successful, some people haven't or will never take the first step of even trying to create a company. So that to me shows ambition and tenacity. So I would think of ways that you can incorporate a title into what you did to start that company up, and your daily duties on keeping it afloat before you decided to dissolve it. I hope that was able to answer your question. Have someone that asks, I was trained to be a designer or innovator, but when I was applying the job, like user experience designer, should I say I explain myself as self-employed as a CEO in my tiny startup? Many thanks. I don't know. Is this coming from the? So I would put that if most of what you did was a designing, I would definitely put that you were a. Let me see if I can open this up, because I am having troubles seeing these questions. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I have okay, so you were trained to be a designer or innovator, applying jobs, user experience. So you're talking about like UX design. I'm thinking that you did kind of UX design and user experience. How should you explain this? I would explain it like that. Um, you were a designer. You were user experience, UX designer. What are the things that you do? How did you make the experience enjoyable? What were some things that worked? What were some things you would have changed? So I would build on that and wouldn't concentrate as trying to, because it doesn't matter if you were a CEO to be at the end of the day. That means nothing to a company. If I'm trying to hire you to do a job, hey, I have a problem. I need someone to come design this. I need someone to make our user experience enjoyable. We're having huge bounce rates because our website is so complicated that, we have all these bells and whistles. So I'm going to hire you to come in here and design my website. You need to show me that you can do it. You need to show me that you can make my user experience enjoyable. How are you going to do that? Because you telling me you are a CEO tells me nothing. So you want to make sure that you are you're utilizing the title and you're building off of that, and you're making sure that you're showing solutions, because that's why I'm going to hire you. And if you have a portfolio, what did you do? Even though this company's not in business, I'm pretty sure you have something that you can put together, some type of portfolio to show this is what I did and this is why I did it and this is the result I got from doing it. Did it increase web page visits? Where the user, did they stay on the page longer? You know the things that you track. I'm not a UX designer, but or user experience, but you know the things that you track. So I would make sure you're building that and you're using quantitative data to somehow paint a picture or illustrate how you brought value. And I can guarantee you, Why the star, they won't even question why it didn't work out or anything like that, because at that point it's not important. I want to make sure that you have the skill sets to do the job I'm going to hire you to do. Okay, let me see if I have, and I hope that was answer your question. I'm glad it did. Thank you. I have another question. Hi, I wanted to get some good ways of creating an innovative cover letter. I was thinking of a presentation about my experience timeline. Any opinions? And you also followed up by telling me that you're applying to a marketing data analyst position. Okay, so if you are trying to create a cover letter, and you want to put this kind of like in a timeline format, I'm thinking, and since you want to do kind of like an experience timeline. Okay, first of all, a cover letter to me is a letter of interest, of course, but it also is a solution letter. And that's usually what I call cover letters, the solution letter. And hopefully a cover letter can kind of build or even explain what may be in your resume. So if you have some aha moments in your resume that you only have so much room to put on there, your cover letter can definitely outline some of your experiences and also implement or some of the solutions that you have. And as a marketing, was it you're looking to be a marketing data analyst position. So timeline is fine, it's creative, but I think that in addition to the timeline, I also would put how you're going to solve their problem. And again, I don't know all the jobs off the top of my head, but look into what as you're applying to market data analyst jobs, you read between the lines. They're asking you to do something. The requirements are XYZ, and they're telling you this is what you'll be doing, this is what you'll be doing, blah blah blah, the day in the life of this role. So you're going to be solving some problem that they have as a market data analyst. So what I would do, I would try to convey through your solution letter how you're going to be a solution and how you can do it. And showing a timeline, as simple as it sounds, I mean, that's fine to do, but I also would try to see if you can, if you in the past have put together any data that shows, or put together any marketing campaigns that are able to show, you can do the job. And you said thinking about a presentation, that's fine if you put together a presentation. But I don't know if you're trying to submit that to a company, like to a ATS system, or is this something that you're trying to do as part of your interview? Because as a recruiter, unless I'm considering the candidate, I'm not going to look at a presentation. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Especially if I have a job and I'm getting all these resumes in, I'm not going to have time to look at a presentation. And that's just uncandy coated raw truth. But if you're in the hiring process, which means I've already had that introduction, I've already, screened you out, I already have this interview book, and now this is your, 1, 2, 3 action showtime, yes, presentation would be awesome. Um, in addition to the cover letter. And you can also, I don't know if you know how to use Prezi. Prezi would be awesome for a timeline because it it zooms in, and you can use all type of animation, keeps their attention. It's pretty cool to use Prezi. You can, if you don't know what Prezi is, you can look at my LinkedIn profile. I think all the presentations I have is using Prezi. It's like Zoom technology. You probably know what it is, but it's pretty good if you're going to put together a presentation versus just a PowerPoint. If you use Prezi, I think that'll blow them out the water too. See if I have any more questions. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate all your feedback, and I appreciate everyone attending and putting in their questions, and I hope I was able to give you some advice at all. So let me know if there are any other questions that you have, or if I wasn't clear. As you can see on this slide, this is my contact information. The best way to contact me is by email. Shoot me an email. It goes to all my mobile devices. I'll get back to you. After this workshop, there's a survey, only 10 questions. Please take it. Let me know how the workshop was, how I better my best. Again, these workshops are done for you. That's why I make an open platform to address any questions that even may be taboo that other people won't tell you about, or they kind of dance around the topic. Even though it may be something that you don't want to hear, I try to give it to you straight. So, and like you said about the presentation, unless I'm interviewing you, I wouldn't watch it. And even though another recruiter may not tell you that, I'm going to tell you that. Unless you're in the recruiting process, I'm not going to, and I got 50 other resumes and presentations to look at. I'm not going to watch it. So I'm going to be honest with you, but let me know. I really appreciate your feedback. You can check this out on the YouTube channel. I hope everyone has a great night. We do this every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come with your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Have a good night.